Hello everyone. I just want to take the time and say thank you all for coming this evening to watch our panel. Our deaf artists panel this evening. We have wonderful panelists. If the panelists wouldn't mind turning on your cameras. If we can start with where you are from, who you are.
Yes, hi, my name is Rosa Portillo. This is my name sign. I'm from Maryland. Yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Next, Gail, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from.
Yes, definitely. My name is Gail. This is my sign name. And I'm from New York City, but I grew up in Miami.
All right, thank you. Salvador, please introduce yourself, name, and where you're from.
My name is Sal. That's my name sign. I'm from Mexico, and I moved to New York, and I've been in New Rochelle, where I've grown up.
All right, thank you. So these are our three panelists that we have this evening. Now, if you all wouldn't mind, we'll start with you, Rosa, and then we can go down our list as we move through these questions. Let's start with our first question. How did you develop your artistic skill? How did it start? How did it end up? What was your journey? What was that like?
Yeah, so I was born in El Salvador. And when I was young, I was the only deaf person in a mainstream school. And when I was there, I learned how to sew. I was able to learn from pictures, but I usually like to do that a lot by myself. I would sew a lot. And later I learned how to crochet. And around the time I was 14, I came to the States. Well, let me go back. So when I was around 12 years old, my mom would sew clothes for me. And I would see her sewing, and I learned a bit from her. And then when I came to the United States, I went to high school, the Model Secondary School for the Deaf, and I took home economics. And I took a sewing class while I was there, and I learned how to sew clothes, all kinds of different things. And so I kept learning at that time. And I thought about making some things and maybe selling them, some pillows, some patches, things like that. So the things I had learned from my mom, I wanted to put that into use. And so I was excited, and I made all kinds of different things. And somehow my aunt found out that I was making this pillow, heart-shaped pillows. And I wanted to sell them, but my aunt actually wanted them. And so I just gave them to her. And I haven't started that business. I kept putting it off and off. And after that, I went to Gallaudet University, and I learned all kinds of different crafts, as, like I said, sewing, crocheting, painting as well. All different types of things that I was able to make, but I still haven't made a business out of it at that point. I was just making things for myself at home. And then during COVID, that's when I got the idea to really put my skills that I had to use, because I had learned all these things and I hadn't been really using them at that point. So during COVID, I got back to it, doing what I had been doing when I was much younger. No, and it definitely helped to refresh me during that time to get back into those skills that I had learned all that time ago. And I had some friends at that time who was also selling masks made from fabric. And I still felt hesitant about starting my own business, about selling things. And so friends were contacting me. They said they wanted to buy some masks. And at that point, I just went ahead and jumped in and took a risk in making them and contacting folks. And quite a few people did buy the masks that I was making. And a few years ago, I also started making earrings. I also made necklaces. I got into making that a few years ago. And again, during COVID, once the mask kind of died down, I went on to making earrings out of polymer clay. So that was something I got into as well. And I was able to learn that from some hearing Facebook groups that I was involved in, how to go about the process of making the jewelry. And so I just learned that myself through these different groups, and I've been making that as well and starting to sell that as well. Like, of course, the mask for needs is going down. So I've kind of pivoted towards selling the jewelry, earrings, and necklaces.
Thank you so much for that experience. Wow. So with sewing, are you still doing that?
So right now I'm just focusing on earrings. Like I said, I don't really use all the different skills I'd learned. Right now I'm solely focusing on the earrings.
Oh, great. What a wonderful experience and skill you've attained. Now I noticed Pedro came in. Pedro, would you mind introducing yourself and where you're from, please?
So my name is Pedro. I'm Garcia. I'm from Wilmington, California. It's in near LA and Long Beach. So I do art. I've been doing art my whole life, and all my art just surrealism and then enjoy storytelling.
All right, happy to have you here.
I'm honored to be here.
All right, Rosa just mentioned your story and skill. Now, next person. Gail, please. Yeah, what was your development like? My story is not very common, I wouldn't say. Same as Rosa. I'm the only one in my family that is deaf, so I was mainstreamed. I say everyday New York City life, I was just the deaf girl. I went to a deaf school. I saw things every day that you just couldn't miss. There was graffiti along the way. I want to say 80s. I saw breakdancing. I felt just inspired with the settings around me. And I believe that it was that kind of art that set me on my way just from the environment. There was no way I could miss it growing up in New York City. Of course, if everyone around me was hearing, so they'd have conversations to engage in and be distracted. But for me, I had that art, the visuals around me every day. I would ask my family, where can I get this? Where can I get involved and experience this art for myself? So every year around Christmas or my birthday, my family would typically give me some sort of art set, art supplies, like, I don't know, like natural art. That was like my natural art therapy. That was my outlet. And how I expressed myself. I started out just drawing for fun, doing my own thing, and then I moved to Miami when I was 6. At that time, I started to learn more about art at a more advanced level. I had my backpack, my shoes, my hat. I had more kind of props influencing my work. I would charge, hip hop influenced my work, and I would charge about $5 a piece from my art. So I made some kind of money. I was also involved in sculpting. I collected dead animals, and I learned how to do taxidermy as well. That became a new part of my skill set. And in that art, I noticed I haven't, from my experience, I've noticed a lot of people haven't bought my art, but I want to say around 2008, I became a tattoo artist. I never thought that's something I would do or indulge in, but again, art is not limiting, and I can do whatever I can put myself in or strive for. So I know there's more, and what's important is how to evaluate myself and what I truly can invest in, not what other people perceive. So during the pandemic, because of the pandemic, I was not allowed to work as a tattoo artist. So I had to find another way to express myself and work. During that time, a lot of people asked me to do some artwork. Animation, I'm not sure what the sign is, but a lot of people asked me for some anime, but it's not something I really made money off of. It was nice just to do it for myself. I made enough, I guess, for a living, but really it was just out of enjoyment. I was happy to do it and I was willing to. That's why art was important to me and is a part of life. So yeah, that's it. This is Nick. Wow, you have a different story. I can see exactly where you started and ended. What a challenge you would have had too. Similar to you, Rosa. Again, thank you for sharing your experience. Now, tell me, how did you develop your skills?
So I've been learning different forms of art my whole life growing up. Well, give me a second. Let me think. Let me back up.
That's okay. Take your time.
In my hometown, there was an art club where I learned, and I moved to New York, and I got involved in an art class there. And in high school, I got into illustration. And I started selling my art at that time. I started working with Photoshop. Yeah, with different computer programs. And then when I was in college, we had visiting artists, different, visual arts. We had painting, different mediums that we would use.
So then after college, you became deaf?
Yes, I started to lose my hearing and I became deaf. So at that time, my art changed. At that time, I became more depressed and my art reflected that. But I still continued to create more art, and the themes of hearing loss began to come up in my artwork. My paintings related to hearing loss, to miscommunication, loneliness. Yeah, I'm trying to think exactly how to describe that process.
Yeah, I've seen your art, your paintings, and what you've done. I see that it's just an expression of how you felt. I know Gail has also mentioned that In art, there's no meaning. We put our whole selves out there.
Right. You know, for me, after I experienced hearing loss, I stopped going to college for art. I felt like I didn't have the same opportunities as other hearing people have. I felt like I couldn't continue with college and the other things I wanted to do. I felt I was really hard on myself. You know, I stayed at home for 5 years. 5 years I stayed home painting, you know, and like I said, a lot of themes around deafness came up in my art during that time. And within those 5 years, I began going to therapy. I created more art. And themes of EMDR came up. I'm not sure exactly the abbreviation for that, but it's a specific type of therapy. But that came up in my paintings as well.
And is that something you're still doing now, or?
I would say I'm in a different place now. I think now I've adjusted to my life as a deaf person and being in the deaf community. So I've been able to get more involved with the deaf community and build my confidence back up. That's where I feel I am right now.
Wow, that's quite a story. Challenging, but good to see that you haven't stopped. You're persevering.
Yeah, I definitely have a pretty complicated story. You know, what happened in the past and now going into the future.
Yeah, thank you. And I see that we all have different stories. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Now, moving on. Pedro, tell me how you developed your artistic skill set, beginning to end.
Wow, it's been a while. I haven't talked about my art. But it started with first grade. I always been doing art my whole life. It First grade started based on just um boredom, but it kind of took away the image of me being a deaf kid because I am a mainstream myself. I was separated from my deaf friends. Um, it so it was very different. I was more outgoing with my deaf friends. I was myself with my, but with being mainstream classes, it cut me down short, and because it was like 30 kids, so it was a lot. So I was imaged as just a deaf kid, but me doing art kind of just embraced it just kind of overpowered me, them recognizing that I'm deaf, but they got kind of used to it. Whether mostly just me being an artist kid. Later on, it just started growing. I just enjoyed it. Started seeing any being in my own world, my own imagination, and then till later on, just like high school, my city specifically, I live in Wilmington, and it it absorbed a lot of graffiti. Being the environment, graffiti, and everything art. Um, so that kind of, and I think the one of the things that caught me into doing the style that I do now was my cousin. He introduced me to Mr. Cartoon, which became my role model. He grew up in San Pedro, so it's very next door to Wilmington. So I looked into his art. I realized that he was doing clowns. So I kind of started doing clown. I started doing like trace, but after a while, I challenged myself to do my own original clown. And I love the idea to just incorporate the being embraced by having to explore the Chicano culture, the Chicano art, and Mr. Cartoon, and later lead to another for me meeting other role models. Um, so APR I did in senior year. My teacher is really great. He always his goal to influence someone to higher goals. So he did that with me with my pen work. So my material of my strength of my art is always ballpoint pen. So I always tell people patient and confident because that's what it taught me. Because people are afraid to make mistakes, and the pen just represents it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to like in the same way of just like it's okay to lose. You're learning from that experience. You're learning through what you have to create, and sometimes it'll be like what Bob Ross says. It's a happy mistake, and you go with the flow. You can't rewind. You kind of sometimes you can erase. You just keep going. So most of my art pieces, that's why they have a storytelling. What my main goal in each of my art pieces now and ever since now that is what can I do that can be different? What can I do that's new? What I want to give the people that looks at my art is whenever they see it the second time, there's always something new. That's what I love about what my art's supposed to be representing. I love and respect my art. I take my time. Um, then there's some art pieces that I just think just like right on the spot. But when I do take with one of my top pieces, I just take my time. So most of my art pieces just been done in class. So I've been doing that my whole lifetime.
All right. Wow. Thank you for sharing your experience and your story. I see we have different artists and stories within the panel. I see some positive and negative experiences within our developments. Of course, we can't move on without them. They're included, they're embedded in who we are. So with that being said, moving on to a next question, we will follow the same order that we just did. How do you find inspiration to create?
Yeah, this is Rosa. Inspiration. Yeah, I think for me, I need to be motivated to create by something. You have to have that itch. You know what I mean? Like I said, I learned those skills in the past, but there's just that itch. I just need to do something new. So for me, that's where I get my inspiration from. That's what gives me the inspiration to create new things.
Good answer. I know we need to satisfy that itch. Next, Gail.
For me, surrealism, and what that means is, something that you don't see any day, kind of weird, off the wall art. I mean, just something you wouldn't see in real life. I mean, I'm just fascinated by the works of Salvador Dali, for example. I have his face tattooed on me right here. Ever since I was a little girl, I've learned a lot from him. And again, like I said, I grew up in New York City, And there's a lot of values that I learned from the city. You know, I've taken broken things and made sculptures, like Rosa was saying, just that itch, because, you know, if you just can't let yourself be limited, there are no limits. It's important to invest in yourself. I mean, your own mind can be your inspiration. It's important to enjoy life with art. Without art, there's no inspiration. With art, everything is inspiration.
All right, so do you find inspiration?
So when I'm asleep, you know, sometimes I have normal dreams and I'm inspired by that. That's something.
That's inspiration, right? Taking it from your dream and then putting it down.
Yeah, it always inspires me when I wake up from the whatever dreams I had the night before.
We have many ideas that way.
Yep. Whenever I wake up, I always feel inspired in the morning.
All right, thank you. Pedro, tell me, how do you find inspiration? What keeps you inspired? What keeps you making art?
When it comes to inspiration, it goes like a full fun ride. It's just like, it's just amazing when you get that drive and it keeps going. And then sometimes it comes and go, you know. Um, right now I'm in this. Right now they're getting to a point where just like kind of sometimes inspiration don't come to you, but sometimes it's not supposed to be that type of magic. Sometimes you have to discipline yourself to hard work to kind of just, you know, give it that if it's like working out. That's how I view it sometimes, because you can't wait for the inspiration to come to you. You have to go to the inspiration and it's the same similar with the itch. Once you find that itch and once you find that drive, it's just amazing to it. So I always see that with other people, even if I'm not inspired, it's always inspiring to see other people being inspired, and it's just wonderful.
All right, thank you. Seems like we have something in common with our answers. We find inspiration, we take it and run. There are moments where it ebbs and flows. Sometimes it keeps us busy, sometimes not, but that's, I guess, what our life's supposed to look like, right? All right, thank you. So next question. So starting again with Rosa. Did your cultural background affect your work? If yes, how? I know you've touched on it before, but would you mind expanding on that a little bit more? Has your background influenced your work? And if so, how?
Yeah, my culture, how it's influenced me. Like I said, I grew up in El Salvador. You know, I would say maybe as far as sewing, that's something that influenced me. And then moving here, I continued that. But as far as, you know, how my culture has affected my work exactly, I'm not exactly sure.
You're saying that culture influenced you, like seeing everything, you think you brought it back?
Well, the culture here is definitely different in the United States, completely different environment from where I grew up. Here, I would say it's more, well, from my perspective, here there's a lot of access for the deaf community. There's many more opportunities that I'm able to take advantage of, whereas in El Salvador, those opportunities are lacking more so. And also, I didn't grow up signing, more so speaking and lip reading. And so I wasn't able to take advantage of the different opportunities there. So I did learn how to sew. And like I said, from my mom as well, from what she learned, what she was doing, I learned the basics from her. And then when I came to the United States, it was just completely different. There was more creative opportunities for me than in El Salvador. You know, maybe when I lived there growing up, if I had stayed there, I would have been more creative, but I didn't necessarily experience the culture there. I've been here and I've had more of those opportunities here to improve in the different skill areas. I see something made and I think, oh, I can do it. If I see something that someone else has done, for example, like with scrapbooking, I've seen pictures of other people's scrapbooks. And when I was pregnant, that was something I started doing. I wasn't working at that time. I was home quite a bit. I thought that's something different and I started scrapbooking. So like I said, just the culture is different. And right now I'm making my earrings and I have people ask me if I can make earrings kind of from El Salvador in that style. And I felt I couldn't necessarily do that. I don't have that experience of making earrings. I'd have to see what their art looks like in order to make something inspired by that. So I'm definitely grateful for my culture, and it's something I would like to try and experiment in the future, specifically with my earrings, and see if that's something I can do. And I do have some actually that I can show if you'd like.
Yeah, if you can.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll show you the first time I actually tried to make some that were inspired by the culture of El Salvador.
Yeah, strong cultural influence there.
Right, right. So it's definitely taken from their artistic style, but made my own. So that's one that I've made, and I'm hoping in the future to be able to make some more, but this is just a start for me.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would like to see more of that influence too, see more of that culture. Thank you. Moving on, Gail, tell me, did your cultural background influence your work? If so, how?
Yes, yes, it has been a huge influence on me. My mom's family is from Egypt. And I mean, I've gotten really into the art from ancient Egypt, hieroglyphics. And looking at that really made me wonder how people back then could read it. It was simple pictures. It wasn't words. It wasn't letters, no specific format, just images. Yet it translated to words back then. So yes, have been very influenced by that. My mom has always explained to me the spiritual significance of the things within our culture about death and life. And so I took all of that in growing up, and that has definitely helped me to open up more. Because I mean, imagine, for example, if you were deaf back then, or you're hard of hearing, or if you were blind, how would you be able to communicate with people? So for me, you know, I love using hieroglyphics. I love that it was used to show images of the afterlife. I mean, there's a lot there. And and my father is from Costa Rica. And so I have that Latino and Arab aspects of myself. And, that has really been an influence to have those two cultures within me. And I'm really proud to be from both of these cultures and to be able to share that with others. So yes, absolutely. And as I continue to study more hieroglyphics, I'm still amazed. I just want to get into it more. And that, that type of writing hasn't stopped. And I haven't stopped looking into it, and I don't want to. I don't want to give up. I don't believe personally in giving up. If it's possible to make a difference in the world, why not make a difference? And that's why culture is very important. And it's important to keep passing it down within our families.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that experience about your culture. Next, Salvador. Tell me, did your cultural background influence your work? And if so, how?
Yes. So culturally identify as a deaf person.
Right, but more so where from culturally?
Right, from Mexico.
So did that influence your work?
Mm-hmm. So currently, I would say that my deaf identity has definitely influenced my work. My old art, if you look at it, you can see the colors that are influence from Mexico. I painted different landscapes at that time. But now I would say my work strongly identifies with my deaf identity. And what has come for me after finding connection in the deaf community.
Would you say your deaf community and deaf culture and your Mexico culture has come together?
Yeah, I would say that was more so in the past. I would say right now I'm more connected to the deaf community.
All right. Well, thank you. I can see what you mean, right? Deaf culture, Mexican culture coming together. I get it. All right, thank you. Next, Pedro. How has your cultural background influenced your work? And if it has, how?
My art is having to say a whole different, like a picture's worth 1,000 words. So I like embracing connection with my parents because my dad's from Zamora and my mom's from like Hidalgo, and they're from Mexico. So whenever I do art, I'm embracing, I'm caring, um, just not losing, even if I do have broken Spanish sometimes here and there, I still not the best. I I'm not the best. I always do my best in that sense of just like just I don't my coach. It just my art itself had more culture to in the sense of just it just has it, and then even if I don't have it's just nothing to prove that I'm Mexican or anything like it. It's nothing because it's just who you are, whether people accept it or not. You yourself being proud of it, and that's all that matters. And you're happy to be, and then no matter what who you are, it just kind of with the culture itself, kind of just also embrace reputation, not reputation, representing. You're representing someone, whether no matter where you come from, where you go, what you do, and whether you're deaf, and you're always you're always representing someone out there that you don't know who you're inspiring to do so. And that's how I see it. That my culture just represent is represent to mix to similar to representing and you being proud of it.
No, I see what you mean. It's more like whatever your art is, that's what it is. There is no interpretation required. There is no translation required. That is what and who you are.
Exactly.
All right. All right, cool. Well, thank you for your response. All right, moving on to our next question. The next question is, tell us your favorite artwork. It can be yours or it can be from another artist.
I would say I really love different things, just a variety of things. I don't think I have one favorite. For me, I enjoy sewing, I enjoy painting, scrapbooking. It's really, for me, it's all different kinds of things. I don't think I have one specific favorite. And like I said, the different mediums that I work in, I enjoy that, working in with different art forms, but I wouldn't say I necessarily have a favorite. That's, I think, like I said, where I learned is through learning from books, from people. And for me in the early 90s, when I was developing my different skills, I was reading a lot of books. I would just go to the bookstore and I would read. And now, I'll watch videos, I'll watch, different things on Instagram, right? With technology that we have now, it's just completely different. It's ready for us to just see and learn online. There's instructions on the materials that you need of how to make something. And I can just take that and go to the store and buy what I need. So like I said, I don't think I necessarily have a favorite artwork. I really enjoy different mediums. But with my children, the art that they make, that is something I definitely cherish. I love when my children make art and gift it to me. So there are a few things that they've made that I have as keepsakes. And my brother as well, who made art in school. His first I love you art that he made when he was young. I kept that and I still have that. So those types of things. Something that's special to me, but I don't have one specific favorite artwork, just the art that my kids make for me.
Yeah, well, I guess that's your answer. Your kids' artwork. Yeah, that can be very powerful. Thank you. Gail, still thinking?
Well, the problem is for me, I have too many. So I don't have a favorite. I love too many things. But for me, definitely Dada, surrealism. Yeah, definitely more of those types of artworks, but I don't have a favorite. I just love them all. I believe all art is beautiful. It's all just different perspectives. So for example, what I really enjoy is seeing my clients when they ask me to create something, create an idea, a blueprint. I'm good with that, helping whatever people come up with. They give me a theme, I'll research that, and I'll take some influences and I'll change it and I'll make it my own and create something for them, but I don't have a favorite. I believe all art is beautiful. It all just comes from different perspectives.
Yeah. I know you mentioned blueprint, and I use InDesign, so I can imagine what it means, right? There's no specific, there's no specialized, no one we can narrow down. Yeah, that's a complicated question. Before we move on,
I would have to say the conscience angel, which is this one. Don't know if yeah. So this is the conscience angel. It's done in Bob and Pan. This is the original one. Um, so this is dressed as a pachuco. Um, you can see the little bomb letters on the shoes. Why I like this one, as much as it's just it being simple, but embraced so much, because why this came to be is because I lost two art pieces and by mistake when I was in the bus. So the original one was lost in the bus. So that was a loss, and I was very hurt because I was just like, damn, I worked hard on that piece. But I just accepted it. I just continued on the story, so I just made this piece as the sun. So this piece is just it being peaceful, being relaxed, being calm, and it just calms me down, knowing just like that I'm able to channel and just wherever that art piece is. So this was my first design to make into a shirt, and I was very honored because it just, even though it's not the original one, it's still little pieces. Whenever people do wear my shirts, it just embrace like it's still little pieces of it. And why I like this one also is because I made a reverse character. So the other one is conscious death. So it's just the other one is just very chaotic. So it's just everything that's going everywhere, and then it's just
yeah,
breaking. So a lot going on, a lot of characters, a lot of craziness, and it's just some stuff like that, and then just like a whole just break into. It's like the nightmare certain version of this other person. So I had fun with it, and I like it because this is not the original one, but the original one has a tear. So I tear at the top, so it just looks like at the very. It gives you a certain character to just like carelessness, and the other one was very cared a lot. So that's my favorite piece. Just the first piece, because it just connects with one another.
wow, yeah, I loved the first one you showed us, your conscious angel with the suit and the wings, the shoes, everything that you explained with that and how it kind of comes together. Yeah, it's really nice and deep. Thank you for
Y-
sharing.
Yeah, I got the reference from the wings. From it was like a female wing character that I did a long time ago in high school, and so it was the same wing pattern. So yeah, so I liked it. So thank you.
All right, yeah, no problem. Salvador, did you find yours?
So this is my favorite painting. And like I mentioned, a lot of my work is related to EMDR. So I painted this during a time of change in my life when I was experiencing hearing loss, and I went to therapy, and my therapist was using this specific method. So, I was experiencing hearing loss. I was feeling feelings of loneliness, trauma that I had. And for me, I mean, this therapy helped me a lot just to get through what I was experiencing. And so you can see that reflected in the painting.
Yeah, and you made that? You could yeah, just tell that you could have been better out after the production of that painting.
Right. And so in this next painting, you can see it's kind of an image of me sitting down in the therapy room, talking with the therapist. And then I'll go into another one as well. So something you do in this therapy is follow the light with your eyes. And so that's reflected here in this painting.
Yeah, as a deaf artist yourself, how is it important to the deaf community? What does it do for our community?
Yeah, absolutely. Making things for them. Color is important. You know, same thing with if someone's depressed, reflecting that in the art. You know, it's very important not to just draw something and put it out there. You have to be aware of what someone wants. In my work, when they're asking to commission something, as far as deaf individuals, I mean, we can't listen necessarily with our ears. So, I mean, I just like working in different mediums. I like working with beautiful things. You know, it's not about necessarily me, the artist. It's more about working with others. Because let's say a person doesn't feel like they can do something, we can work together. And that's beautiful. You know, increasing in knowledge benefits all of us. You know, I've worked with a lot of deaf people and deaf blind people as well, and they'll ask me a lot of questions. And for me, it's important that I listen to what their vision is when they're coming in for a tattoo. Because, for example, you know, if someone asked me, you know, to draw something for when they go to the shop, because they may try to explain to another shop what they want and not be understood. So people feel comfortable coming to me as a deaf person. I'm able to be open-minded, and we can help each other to get what they want, what they express. If I listen to that and I draw that out, then it's beautiful and they get what end up getting what they want. So yeah, it's very deep. And when people come to me, I definitely want it to be a judgment-free zone. I want to honor their dreams, their wishes, what they want in a tattoo. So that's I think important working with anyone in the deaf community to support each other.
Yeah, thank you for answering that question. So who would like to go next? And then I can ask you the question again. Okay, Rosa, thank you. The question again is, please explain how art is important to the deaf community.
As a Latina, being from El Salvador, a deaf woman, that's something I can show in my art. I can show who I am. People may look at me and see someone different. Or people may assume, rather, that I may identify differently. And so it's important to me to clearly identify who I am, that I am from El Salvador. And I want to show my abilities because, you know, oftentimes people say, you can't. You know, people will say, you're deaf, you can't go to a university. You know, they have that mindset. People are obsessed with that word, can't. You know, and I want to change the narrative. I want to say that I can. And having that mindset has helped me in my artwork. And what I still do with my artwork. And many people in El Salvador still think that they can't. But I want to show that you can accomplish whatever you want to do. And at the same time, sometimes I do have fear to show my artwork for fear of how I'll be perceived. But I try to go forward in a positive way. And that's what I have been doing. You know, like I said, with my earrings, with my mask, I want to show who I am, my identity. I'm from El Salvador. I'm proud of that. And I think that's important for other people in the community to see that representation.
Yes, it's important for everyone to see we're out there. You are out there, not giving up, persevering. That's wonderful. Thank you for your answer. Explain how art is important to the deaf community.
It's really cool when you get introduced or when you get to meet someone that's also deaf in the same art show or the same art gallery, museum, wherever it can be, and to see the excitement from another person, know that there's an artist that's also deaf, and that's why I say the word connection. And you just you don't know who you're gonna meet in that sense of just where you go and what you want to do with your art. And I believe it's important because it's just an amazing feeling. And to this very to where it came to be, you know, I wouldn't even met Roberto. I wouldn't even met some few friends that I've gotten, you know, on the way. It's just one connection when meeting another person. They introduce you to another, to just like, and they're like, you don't know who's, and it's amazing feeling that, you know, that it just feel like, in the sense of just like you're not alone, and it's also a great feeling that, you know, to make someone else happy, well, with your art. So it's like a little magic within magic power within your art to do that, and it's a really great feeling. Connection, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's probably my favorite part. When you find another person who's similar to you, who you can look up to and have a mutual support. Outside of the deaf community is a little different, but to have a similar role model and a similar skill set to share your similar identities is just another level and another set of vibes. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And again, the question is, explain how art is important to the deaf community. And I mean, all your art can be important, but just specifically.
It can help encourage connection. I mean, it can help people know that children who are deaf need to be supported. Yeah, just that awareness.
Right, I noticed within your work, there's color, there's diversity within your work. I think that's something that speaks to your answer with this as well. It takes a moment to kind of digest who we are and for others to realize what we've gone through and have representation out there that's represented through our work. Make sure people know they're not alone out there. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. As a deaf person, I think, one of the best ways to spread awareness and help other people is through art.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I'll definitely get more of my art out there.
What is your advice for young, deaf, Hispanic, Latino artists?
Salvador speaking, I would say keep going. Just keep going with your art, with what you're doing, and to keep that up in the future. Keep creating things. Don't give up.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I would say something I've noticed in myself when I tried to sell my artwork, in the side, I felt some uncertainty. And as far as starting a business, communicating with other people. So my advice would be for those out in the deaf community, if they're feeling any fear about selling their artwork, don't feel nervous. Go out there and do it and see what comes from it. And you'll definitely make an impact. And you'll learn from that experience. You'll learn from your mistakes. And you'll make the changes to keep doing the right thing. Mistakes are normal. And that's something that you'll learn. And I've learned that. I've learned from my mistakes and change what I need to and keep going. And especially when you're selling things, you have to communicate with a lot of other people. So don't feel afraid. For me in the past, I did feel a lot of that nervousness. But once you get going, you'll definitely learn and you'll get comfortable. So that would be my advice for anyone. And especially those in the Latino community. If you create art, get into a community of other people and sell those things. Go ahead and go for it. That's what I would say. It's important to get out there in the culture because we do have a lot of diverse cultures who are doing that, so it's important to get out there and represent your culture. And if you want to sell your art in the future, to do that.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Mistakes, failures, let's call them, are lessons. And they give back. They give back to us in any way.
This is Gail. So something I would suggest is getting more into whatever they're interested and look at our culture, look at the Inca, look at the Aztec, all of the cultures that we come from, our tribes. I have many friends who are interested in learning about that, and I'm interested in that as well. So for example, I have friends who don't have tools for the art that they want to produce. So I get that, I welcome them, and I provide those tools for them to represent their cultures. So, no matter how many times you make mistakes, if you feel like a painting is wrong, the details are wrong, keep going because your mind is still processing all of those ideas. It's going to keep developing. Look at the different statues from our culture. Look at the headdresses. Everything that's being worn, the symbols, all of that. Take a look at that. If you're proud to be Mexican, if you're proud to be from Central America, I highly encourage you to look at that. It's a gift, the art that we have. You never know. Perhaps you'll make a painting and it'll become successful. So it's definitely very important. I encourage people to look into that because I often meet many people who are very focused on themselves. It's important to share your knowledge, share what you learn. It's not about individuals. We grow together. We can share that knowledge that we learned with each other. And that makes a huge impact. A challenge that I've noticed, people ask me, how do you read the Aztec and Mayan languages? I'm not necessarily good at that, but it's important to, look at movies, look at books, do your research, learn about the history. For example, the sun, that image of the sun with the tongue sticking out. I did research about why that looks like that. It means great hunter. And Native Americans would wear that around their necks, a symbol of that. And so if they wore that, if they went out on a hunt, it meant that they would be successful in their hunt. So it's important that we learn about our culture. So if you're an artist, I encourage you to do that. Don't be afraid.
Oh, you make me feel young again. I feel so inspired. Thank you. I like how you mentioned the variety of cultures, the diversity, right? El Salvador, Mexican, Peruvian, and so on. We make up a diverse group of individuals. Aztec, that one example of the sun with the tongue laying out as well. If you add something else, it can be a mix of diverse cultures within one painting.
Good, good start, bad start, still a start, and you just keep going as well with everyone else to say. And in a long way, you know more towards yourself. Whatever you, even if you're hitting to the topic of culture, you'll learn more to yourself while being a visual learner yourself, seeing other people around you, listen to people or see videos or read from books. It's all curiosity or whatever you want to be into. Like at the end of the day, every artist is different and how you view things. Everybody have a different perspective. Um, but with artists, always networking is always a good thing. Don't rely on so much, and also protect your passion. And while you have that passion, just go beyond. And in the sense of that, it just go up and beyond. Pretty much in the sense of just like create as much as you can, and you never know what one thing could lead to another. And life is unpredictable.
I love that answer. I think I tell myself that as well. Start, whether it's good or bad, is a start. And I love how you had a similar or the same idea. So thanks for that. Does art help you in other areas of your life? And if so, how?
I've been traveling the world as an artist for over 10 years. And I mean, I've been able to see different cultures, different styles of art. And I've really forced myself to learn about different materials, different textures, different media. I've taken it all in from all these different cultures, not just from here in America, different fabrics that are used around the world, clay. I enjoy learning about the differences, the different genres of art that are out there. And I just think it's amazing. I love to learn, you know, if people are willing to learn about their culture and willing to share, I mean, you know, today people would rather just read, they'd rather look on their phones, they'd rather be on the computer, and you're missing out so much. It seems like technology is taking over and taking all of our time. It's important to enjoy your life, to take in all different types of media, different types of art from all over the place. Allow yourself to explore, to find something new. Find something that you really want to learn, and it can change your life. It can make your life better or teach you a better way to approach things. I've noticed that oftentimes people will complain. They feel like there's nothing new. They feel like they're bored. Let yourself outside. Stop using your phone so much. Stop scrolling. No, we're too addicted. We're on our devices 24/7. It's important to have balance in your life, because if you have balance, I mean, you'll better yourself. You don't want to keep the same old habits. So that's something I always tell people. Whatever you're passionate, whatever you're into, try it. I mean, I would love to help you. Life is short.
Yeah, just that. Let go of the technology. Get in touch with nature again. Just if you feel like something's missing, get out. It's probably nature is what you're missing.
Right. Technology is important, but again, it's important to remember, if all of our work, if we're saving it somewhere like a computer or a tablet, what if it crashes? Where's your backup? We have to learn to have balance. We can have that physical media and digital media. There's all these wonderful programs, InDesign, Photoshop, but it's important that we have things that we can feel and touch with our hands. When you touch it, when you feel it, I mean, it's just a different experience than scrolling on your computer. It's important to have that balance.
No, I love that you brought that perspective. Thank you.
When I made things in the past, I really enjoyed that. And in 2020, we were going through the pandemic, and there was just a lot of negativity at that time going around on social media. A lot of negative things happening. And so for me, I felt like I really couldn't handle it. It was too much. I needed to do something positive for myself. And so at that time, I was able to focus on my art again, making masks, making earrings. And that was really, I mean, just a stress reliever for me. I felt calm while I was doing that. It was almost like meditation. Especially when I made earrings, it felt like it could take forever. But while I was making it, I didn't feel stressed. I didn't feel like I was having all these negative thoughts. It was just a peaceful time. I just got lost. And time just flew by while I was making the earrings. And my two sons would, be passing by while I was making my earrings, while I was working, and they would come and tap my shoulder, and they'd be like, "You've been here for a long time, Mom. It's getting late." It'd be like 2, 3 in the morning, and I hadn't slept. I wouldn't realize because time just flew by. That process of making it just really helped me during that time. And I knew I had to get to bed, but even while I was laying in bed, I just still had thoughts of what I was making. I felt like I needed to get it all out by finishing whatever I was working on. But, if it was 3 in the morning by that time, I would just have to put it on hold, try and sleep the best I could to get back to it later. So for me, that's another area of life that affected me. And I really enjoyed that, how it was really able just to get my thoughts out into something physical. For me, I just couldn't wait. I had to do it. And if you wait, that creativity is lost, that inspiration is lost. So it's important when you're having that itch, it's like someone's lit a match and there's a fire. I just have to do it, and I have to start making things.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of you. That's part of what you do, and that's art. It's your medicine.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what was happening for me in COVID. I was able to get into it a lot more.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. We have two left. Yep, Salvador and Pedro. I'll ask the question again. Does art help you in other areas of your life? And if so, how?
With art friends, I got to be closer with art friends and just talk about art. Just talk about what can we do to make things happen. Sometimes making a project, sometimes doing an art show, creating it, making an event. Um, it's always rather than not creating art, you make a whole scene, and I think that's really cool. And I got to meet so many amazing people. Um, some became my closest friends too, and it would be cool. And it really helped me start my own clothing brand because in high school I would be trying so hard to make shirts, and it was just no way. But now after getting out of high school, I was able, because of networking and meeting so many cool people and those who actually do those stuff, and they're able to help me make my dream into reality and my ideas into reality. So it helped to, in the sense of just whatever idea I want to bring to life, and that's always been the goal and my intention. But also just making people happy, and to those, and I appreciate to those who even love my work, and I do it for myself and I do it for others. So always putting yourself first is like, even if you're doing it for yourself, you're always doing it for others, and people, those who know you well, they always care for you. And I just thought that was just a big full circle in that sense of just what you give is what you will receive later on, and you don't expect anything. You just give, and with your art, and you receive so much great positivity on the way.
Yeah, yeah. I loved I love that, especially surrounding yourself with positive people, surrounding yourself with support and people who have similar goals that can just feed into what you're already doing and support your growth and development. I love it. I love it. Keep going, man.
For me, I think of my experience with hearing loss, my mental health issues that I've had, my trauma with going to the doctor and getting therapy. I thought my trauma was related to my hearing loss, but it was more than that. So I tried to find a way to stay stable. And for me, that was through painting. It helped me out a lot. It helped me stay at my baseline to regulate my emotions, the feelings that I was having. Through the therapy that I was in, and that's reflected in my art. It gave me a way to stay at that baseline. And that helped me, my art and my therapy through that time with my emotions.
Yeah, it seems like you shared a similar sentiment of how art was your medication.
Yeah.
For those of you in the audience, please, if you have a question, fill out the question in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. All right, I found a question. We'll just start with the first one. This is to all of our panelists, and we can go by a volunteer role as well. What is the hardest part about being a deaf artist?
Communication.
Yeah, that's one. What's another one? I have similar feelings. Yeah.
Gail saying same. Communication, that's a challenge. And Salvador saying, as well as for jobs, when it comes to job interviews, they may not provide a sign language interpreter.
And yeah, I get it.
And some places currently require masks. So it can be complicated. Sometimes I feel alone in that experience of not understanding people with masks on.
Yeah, Gail.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's a challenge to read lips. If my clients are speaking to me while I'm tattooing, it can be challenging to communicate with them. So I ask them to step away if they can pull their mask down. So communication is definitely one of the hardest things, but I get through it. Patience is definitely important.
Yeah, Rosa.
One of the hardest parts for me, like I said, I've been working on my earrings for about a year now. And one of the challenge has been the business aspect. Promotion, getting it out there, that's definitely been a challenge for me. And I think for myself, the challenge as deaf, someone from El Salvador, someone sees that and they think, oh, you're deaf too. I still feel like that's necessarily not enough. I meet many people who also sell their art in person, but just getting the word out there, that's definitely still a challenge.
Yeah, perhaps those who are viewing our panel now can share your work. Seems that you all had similar experiences, communication, promotion. Yeah. Rosa, do you have more to say?
Yeah, if I can add another thing that's hard for me is work. I work 2 jobs. I work at a school and then I come home and I make my jewelry from scratch and sell it. And so, of course, there's the time constraints that I have from my other job. And then I make my art as well. So that's definitely a challenge, is balancing that.
Yeah, time. I know Gail mentioned it's important to have that balance as well. Yeah.
Right.
Pedro?
I think the harder part is just having to reconnect again. So but it all takes time. I think I want to say that's my part of being a deaf person as a mainstream, to just, but I want to reconnect, and that's like a refresh and restart and some of the stuff. Because back then I only cared about myself, but now I want to get in touch with it more. So it's a yeah.
Yeah, and it's important you never stop learning. Yeah, keep it up. You're doing whatever you have to do to make yourself happy. So let me see if I understand it. The question is for Gail, have you noticed any disconnection between you and your clients when they notice you're deaf? Are there any issues with your clients?
I would say sometimes, for example, when I'm away, I'm on international trips, it could be hard to get in contact with me due to the time difference. It really depends. But, I probably need to hire a secretary or something. Because, I just can't keep up with it. There's a lot of people trying to get a hold of me. I need to get someone, to come and help me out with that. But when people come, it's always important to have respect, to respect their preferences, to communicate with them in a professional way. If it's someone's first time coming in, I just want to be ready for what they want as far as their tattoo, their decision. A lot of times people come in and they change their minds. It's not my responsibility to tell them what to get if they're unsure. But I always challenge them. Do you really want a tattoo? Do you want something that has meaning for your life? I want to make sure that their tattoo is significant for them. I don't want people getting something just because they think, oh, it looks cool. I don't buy that. I always want to follow up with people, make sure it's something that they really want, that it's something meaningful.
Where can our audience support your job? Rosa?
Yeah, so it's been mostly my friends who have helped me share my work. They'll see my earrings and people will ask, oh, where'd you get that? Who made that? So for me, that's one way I've gotten my art out there, specifically my earrings. So through word of mouth.
Right, yeah, I bought from a deaf-owned business, yeah. It's a word of mouth through the community, right? Maybe if somebody needs some new earrings, maybe I need some, you never know. ready for the summer. All right, anyone else? How can our audience support you and your work? All right, and now any closing comments from our panelists? Gail.
Yes, for Pedro. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for joining, because it's beautiful to get a mix of deaf and hearing folks. And what's beautiful is that we're able to learn from you. You're able to learn from us as well. And I'm pretty sure tomorrow, when we all wake up, we'll have learned more from tonight.
We're here for a reason, sir. And it brings us one together, sir. But yeah, I hope for everyone and
Yes, nice to see us all supporting one another. Thank you, Gail, Rosa, Salvador, and Pedro, for being with us tonight. We also want to thank our interpreters today, Emilio and Derek. Sarah, can you come back on screen? Any last comments from yourself before we wrap up? Thank you, the panelists, everyone for joining us this evening. Thank you. And this is Nick. Yes, thank you. And I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors. Please continue, follow your dreams, never give up. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.